Um, I actually initially expected some tension between the community and the military. But once we started talking, um, we all realized that we basically want the same thing for our kids. And interestingly enough, the very nature of being a military kid and having parents stationed overseas in harm's way, um, not home, being deployed, moving around a lot, creates very similar trauma to children that you see in kids who come from single parent homes, who are the victims of poverty and lack of education and resources and opportunity. So we found a lot more common ground than we expected. So once that was established, that, it wasn't, well, let's get a school that serves the community and serves the military. Once we realized that we were looking for a school that just served kids well and that no matter what your background, you would benefit from that, it became very easy. I noticed that when we started the voting process, there was, some differences of opinion there, but it was still a lot of common ground to work with, and that's what made it um, so successful, I think. It's amazing to me that no one thought of this before, because it's like what is that saying? You put the cart before the horse. Like the whole process is backwards. It's I'm a charter school and I'm going to see what you need and then I'm going to shape myself to fit into your needs. How about we know what we need and we look for a school who's already doing it and doing it well instead of finding someone who's going to have to tweak themselves or adjust themselves to fit. It's like, whew, how come no one ever thought of that before? And who knows our needs better than the people who raise the kids who are going to your school? Um, Asking parents as like the missing link that um, once you put it into place, everything works. So it just makes so much more sense. It just really did. I felt it was revolutionary, but it's just so odd that it didn't happen until this millennium. They made it very clear, we're here to assist you. We're here to answer questions. We're here to provide you with the resources that you need to understand this process better. They just pretty much armed us with information. They spoke their piece and then they sat off to the side and let us go at it. And that was appreciated. Our focus was on academics, but the emotional support was just as important to us as academics because our kids have traumas for whatever reason, but they're still traumas. And we, so I think our vision as parents is not as business minded. Like, we wanted a charter school that could operate with fiscal responsibility and that's organized and that was important, but it wasn't our number one thing. Like, okay, we expect that you run yourselves like a business and you don't waste money and you stay open and you maintain your funds, but don't spend 50 pages on your financial plan and just mention that you have one counselor. Our focus was more on the kid part as opposed to the business side of it. And I mean, we were made to understand that, that's important. You can't stay open. You can't, you can be a kumbaya school and hug your kids and all day long. But if you can't run a business and you can't stay open, then that's not going to do you any good. But I do think that the stress that we put on the children themselves and as people and catering and making sure their needs were met and understanding their issues and figuring out a way to teach through those issues probably would not have had the same importance as the typical public charter school board process. And parents definitely had opinions about what they would like um, the school to be. But no matter what type of school it ended up being, as long as it was one that was positive and inclusive and supportive and encouraging. I think the perceived effect on our children was a lot more important than the vehicle. I think that they need to make it their mission to make sure that this is not the only group that does this. This needs to spread. This needs to go everywhere. Ideally, this needs to go to not just a charter school process, but it needs to go to public schools as well. The idea that parents are stakeholders as well, and that the central office and administrators and people who crunch the numbers are too far away from their target audience sometimes, and they'll miss the nuances. I mean, they're focused on the logistics, and they miss some important pieces just because they're not on the ground. I I think it is so important for us to continue to do this, and I think that once it becomes common, that it will do wonders to help parental involvement if we're asked beforehand and not after. That's the beauty. That's the beauty of this process. That's what I was so impressed by. That's why I would have gladly given up those Saturdays all over again, because you asked me before you did it. You didn't do it, and then try to convince me that it was okay.